Welcome to the XtraMile Podcast.
Un podcast bilingue qui vous permet d'approfondir vos idées, vos réflexions et même de nourrir vos connaissances.
Every month, on a given subject, we provide access to that extra info you need.
Soyez curieux et embarquez avec nous.
Be ready to go the extra mile.
Welcome back, Extra Milers. We're so thrilled for this new episode. This is an extra episode, so no guests with us here, only MPN and myself. We have a lot to talk about. Maybe you guys have noticed. Perhaps you have actually. We've taken a month break, precisely a March break. You might have seen also on our most recent post, like both on Instagram and on Facebook, that we announced why we did so. We had to both refuel our batteries. There was a lot going on in our lives, both professionally and personally. We're about to explain what's been happening and just give you, like a heads up about that and what those changes have been in our lives. Also, we want you guys to stay with us till the very end of this episode. We have something that we want to tell you. Please, Extra Milers, we don't want to worry you in any type of way, but there's something big that's about to be announced, that's about to change. We'll be finishing up season 2, and then we'll be hopping on something a little different. So just be aware that stay there. We're coming up with some big news. So let's dive in, MP. Let's talk about changes that have been happening in our lives, both personally and professionally. I'll let you start on that.
Yeah, I guess we both, as Elsa said, needed a break. And this whole topic of this episode really will turn around changes, which is a very broad topic. And we both have, I would say, a different lens and a different perspective from which we want to address this topic. But on my end, the past few months, we're so busy. As some of you may know, like I'm finishing my undergrad at the University of Toronto. I'm in my last semester. Throughout my undergrad, I've been working like 15 hours per week, on top of obviously being full-time studies. But in this past month, I've received like a super fun opportunity to work on another project, which obviously I accepted because I really like to try new things, meet new people, and expand my field of knowledge. So in February, in March, I was working like 30 hours a week, full-time studies. It was so much. And at the same time, Elsa will dive into that later, but she was so busy as well. So we kind of both looked at each other and be like, okay, you know what? Let's just pause for the podcast. And some people don't know about that, but it really takes a lot of time and effort to run a podcast. And that's kind of like what we realized. Obviously now we're at probably 8 months or 9 months doing the podcast. But there's a lot of things going in the behind the scenes, content creation. Like before each episode, we need to figure out what the content will be. How do we explain and announce the subject, recording and editing. Like, yes, we're just sitting and talking, but then afterwards, there's a lot of editing going on to post on YouTube, to post on all the platforms. Marketing and promotion, that's something that people don't think about, but, we want to create this word of mouth. So it's a lot of reaching out to people around us, trying to explain this new episode, the whole concept of this podcast. And obviously something that Elsa has been working on a lot is collaboration. So reaching out to people, and trying to have nice guests. And one thing that since the beginning of this podcast for Elsa and I has been very important is having quality content. Right. We never wanted to post anything that was just random or blah, blah. There's a lot of podcasts out there for that. And if
we wanted takeaways.
We wanted clear takeaways, clear information. And we realized that because we're so busy, obviously Elsa is a full-time criminologist, like, hello. I'm about to start a full-time job in the fall as well. We were like, okay, this podcasting is super fun, but it takes a lot of energy for both of us. So on top of this, and Elsa was going through the same thing. She moved. I'm about to move. I'm going back to Montreal. I'm in the middle of packing. Funny story. I used to record every episode in another room of my house, but now it's so empty. There's nothing in there. So it was so echo. I'm in my room right now.
Echo. That's what it's filled of.
I'm in my room right now, like in a very ordinary setup. But anyway, so yeah, lots of changes. And I think it's going through these changes is good, but it's also very tiring and it can be very overwhelming rapidly. So I really enjoyed this March break, and I think I can't wait for you to also share what's been going on with you in the past month.
I feel like there's been a lot going on for myself as well. Like I was aware of what was going on for you. I feel that, having that talk together of putting a pause to the podcast was somewhat like kind of challenging because we love it so much. We're both passionate about it. But I mean, there's just so much you can do in life. And I mean, being human is also about taking a step back and, taking breaks sometimes. And that's quite normal. And I feel that we're in a society where everything spins so quickly. We're constantly bombarded by I'll talk about that later about news and notifications and all that stuff. And it just gets really overwhelming. And that's really where I want to dive in for myself, just because I've been overwhelmed. I mean, to explain my situation on my side, I had to move. So December, was the start of this huge transition for me, for us, for my boyfriend and myself. So we had to leave our condo for, the summer just because it was going to be sold. And so we're looking for something else. And then we decided to make the move towards a house, which is something pretty big, right? So starting January, we're like, in between everything, the process, the appointments, and just like figuring everything out. We're happy about where we're going. It's a house, nice neighborhood. But the thing is, at first we're like, okay, it's a condo, so might as well wait till February and just pack a few boxes, throw the clothes in like this big, black garbage bag that you use for,
Oh God.
leaves spring, fall. And we'll be fine, just give us like 2 weeks. You know what? There's so much in a condo. Like I can't imagine like leaving from my house to something smaller, like what you're experiencing
so
right
bad.
now. And it's quite overwhelming because beyond just like packing, there's the cleaning, and there was for us taking care of the other house. So we were like constantly driving from the condo to the house, and just like it was crazy February. And apart from that, there's not just like the moving part. Like moving is considered one of like the most major changes you could have in your life, apart from like having kids and all that stuff. And then additionally to that, there's like this huge task I have to do for work. I have deadlines. And then I have my business as well. I want to take care of my clients. There are promotions during the month of February, and then coming for March. And there's just so much. And so much that I can even handle. So at this point, I'm like confronted to a wall. I'm like, okay, things have to stop, and I can't see the end of the tunnel. And that's where, I had a panic attack. And we had moved in at that point. Everything had been set up. We had the decorations on, like everything was really pretty. We were starting on a clean slate, but finally the adrenaline went down. And if you watch our episodes about mental health previously, we've talked about different hormones like cortisol for stress and all that stuff. And I feel like I was just loaded on all those different like kind of negative hormones for like too long. And when it all came down, I had a panic attack, and I just, had to take a step back. And that's when I decided to take a vacation from work for a little while and put things on pause, as MP said. And that just did the very best for me. I feel like it was a blessing in disguise. So I might take you a bit on my inward adventure, just because I've had to go inwards, and find myself to better come back to you guys, but also to my other projects, and see what was really, really a priority in my life.
Yeah, no, it's crazy you're saying all of that. And coming back to what you said about moving, I remember, because in the past, I think 10 years, I think I've moved 6 times. So it's and it's really played with, I kind of want to say, my sacral chakra, because moving and your house is really related to how grounded you feel. So when you keep moving and shifting places, whether it's for traveling, kind of like, okay, if you've never moved, picture it. When you go on a vacation, you're super excited. It's super fun. You enjoy the trip. And then when you come back, sometimes we even feel more tired than just before, because it's
unloading the stuff.
Yeah. And it's a big shift. So I think both of us, and I've seen you going through that process, and I'm currently going through that, like packing, as you said, cleaning stuff. Like, yes, it's super fun, and it's super, in a way, you release a lot of energies and memories, because when you pack, you often let go of certain things, but it's also very draining. And I think both of us, all this process really made us go inwards, as you said. And I think maybe we could talk about that, how we found different ways to cope with these changes, and maybe this will help you as well.
Absolutely. And you guys know, we said it before, we like clear takeaways. I'm a person who loves to listen to podcasts, TV shows, whatever it is, read content that I can take home with me and just apply.
Yeah.
So I want to share with you guys one thing that has really helped me, and I won't go in it too deep with you guys just because I feel like it could be a subject matter to another episode with the XtraMile. So we'll see about that. But there is this episode from the On Purpose podcast by Shetty. It's called 6 Scientifically Proven Ways to Improve Work-Life Balance and Reduce Stress. It's like a 25 minutes episode, so it's super fun if you guys want to watch it. But here are my key takeaways from it. It's first off, those with good work-life balance are more productive. I thought that I was productive, but I was just spinning. Things were going so quickly and I wasn't really productive because I was lacking energy and not doing it with like as much passion that as it was when I began the few projects here and there. Also, continue to sharpen yourself. And how do you do that? It's about learning about who you are and what profoundly animates you and what you want to do. So I've told you I was overwhelmed with tasks, messages here and there, emails, notifications, errands, and appointments. Like I was sick of all of it and I couldn't see the end of it. And so in his podcast, he talks about sensory deprivation. It's around like minute 18 if you guys ever want to listen to it. He talks about its importance about sensory deprivation, and I'll come to where I brought this into my life. He gives the example of a cave. He says it's dark, it's still, it's silent. Our senses need that more than ever today, just because from the moment we wake up to the moment we go back to bed, we're bombarded by news, notifications, and negativity, and not negativity necessarily being like, war and everything, but just like people complaining about the weather, about like the slightest things. This has an impact on our energy. And so we need time in our day to spend with, our senses, even if it's not through meditation, because I know MP might talk about that. Yeah. I'm like not yet into meditation. It's been like 3 weeks since I've been going really inwards and reading a lot and journaling more than I've ever done in my life. I'm still a student to everything, but so we need to go where we're not constantly triggered and demanded. And so he suggested in his book here, Think Like a Monk, that we might just pull out also in the Toolbox so that you guys can have a look at this amazing book. So it comes into like 3 parts, and I'm at the part where it's about just growing and finding who you are, what your purpose is. And he tells us that we don't spend enough time alone to figure things out, and that there's a difference between loneliness and solitude being the more positive aspect of it. And he talked about going in, taking some time in a spiritual retreat, amongst other ideas. So I was kind of tempted, and I don't ever go like to the cinema alone or to the restaurant alone. If I do, like I'm going to be on my phone because I need that kind of distraction. I don't like being alone with myself. Funny. Yeah. And I'm really looking towards to that now, like really. So I signed up for that spiritual retreat. At first I thought I might do it just like silently, but I realized it was really hard to just go silent because I was already deprived from other senses. It was calm there. I was in the woods. It was destabilizing. How you can?
Yeah,
you can say that in English.
Yeah. I I don't know the word as well, but yeah, I get yeah. It felt different. At least
very much different, to the point where I had trouble sleeping. There was a lot of energy in that place. It's a house where the woman who has the house, she practices Reiki. So Reiki is a form of energy healing that's, from the Japanese culture, and it's an alternative to medicine. You might or not believe in it. I was quite shook because honestly, I wasn't sure if I did believe in it. I was just like very open to the practice, and honestly, it did drain me. I had very like little energy 2 hours after being kind of healed with Reiki, and I started having anxiety so much that I had to cut off the silence that I thought I was going to do and call somebody that I love to explain what had been happening, and I needed that comfort. Like I felt homesick, and I was like only like an hour away from my house.
Wow.
It was crazy.
I have chills. This is crazy.
It's a pretty intense experience, but it really answered a few of the questions that I did have, and it helped me go a lot deeper inwards, even deep to a point where it felt very, very uncomfortable. And she said things that I've never told her that, like, anyway, it was crazy. So I could go about it on another episode, but
yeah, you should.
this is something that I would recommend if you're in like a period of big change and that you feel like you're losing yourself, to either ground yourself or different ways. But I think like just going into a place where there is sensory deprivation could really help.
Yeah. No, I thank you for sharing, by the way. It's such a vulnerable story, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Oof, yeah.
But before I dive into what helped me and has been helping me, two things I want to get back to it about what you said. Work-life balance. I feel like for me as well, it's been so it's a constant process of trying to find what is work-life balance for me. I think it's different for everyone. But it's true that if you only focus on work, then you kind of like let go of your life. And then if you only focus on life, you're gonna let go of your work. So it's very difficult to find that in between balance. And realistically, we really need both, because all humans are tailored towards, having some sort of purpose and mission. And I feel like that's why work is important. But also we also need to relax, to, again, sensory deprivation, really ground ourselves. Other thing you said that I really want to get back to is solitude versus loneliness. I've always loved solitude, and I've always been more of an introvert, I would say. And for the past years, really focused on solitude, because moving here, then there was COVID. So I really didn't have a social life in Toronto. University was online and all of that. And now it's funny because I'm craving the opposite. And that's kind of why I'm coming back to Montreal. I'm craving social interaction. I'm craving seeing people, meeting people, connecting with people. And I think it's great to be able to notice in which state you're at. So I don't think throughout all her life we're going to be like, oh, I need solitude, or oh, I need social interaction. I think it's like a wave, and it's totally fine. But yeah, what helped me in the past few weeks, months, has really been anything related to grounding myself spiritually and physically. So for those who don't know, I'm really I would say spiritual. I'm not per se like following a religion, but I really do believe in God and the universe and the power of connecting with a higher source. Call it however you want.
Yeah.
And whenever I feel like I'm all over the place, it really helps me to pray, meditate, call it however you want. Again, like everybody has their own word for it. Although it's very difficult sometimes to just sit down, take a moment. And as Elsa, we were talking about this a bit earlier, like kind of enter a trance state where you're just like trying to not let anything go through your mind. And it's so difficult. It's very difficult.
I have no idea how to get there. Like it's so new to me.
Time.
Like I'm listening. I'm being your student right now.
No, but it takes time. And like some days I just can't sit. Like some days I try to pray, to meditate, and it doesn't work. And some of the days it's like, wow, it does work. So I don't think it should be like a thing where every day it feels the same. It really feels different every day. And another thing that's been helping me a lot is working out. Obviously, both of us, I think we're pretty active people. And sometimes it's like, I'm going to do more yoga than anything else. But recently I'm craving this, working out and sweating and weight training. And this is probably the only like 4 or 5 hours of my week that I'm allowing myself to not think of anything else. And I really highly suggest it. It's so cliche, but like, move your body, because like there's so much stagnant energy in ourselves that we don't know about it. So whenever you move your body, whether it's taking a walk or like whatever you want to do, just do it, because it really helps to clear your mind.
Absolutely a really good release of different types of toxins, energies. Like honestly, they talk about, I was talking about, like solitude and then finding your way to get away from distractions. And Shetty was actually talking about how exercising is one thing that you can do for yourself, because although you've planned it in the agenda, you have no other choice but to focus on your movements and to concentrate on your tempo and whatnot, and just sweating. So you can't work out and have like a bazillion things going through your mind. If so, then you're not going to work out, because it's just not working, right? But love it. Same for me.
Definitely. And I think if you want, then we can probably explain how all these changes will have, I guess, shifted our perspective on the podcast and where we're thinking of going.
Oh yeah, so we're there. And then I just want to let people know that after we've addressed that, we're going to give you a few tips or a few ideas of how
Yeah.
you can also address change and navigate through it, on
On the daily
I want to say
basis.
on a daily basis, but I want to say also in a safe space and feel good about it to
Mhm.
greet change in your life.
Yeah.
So do you want to start? Like,
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess as we both said, we took a moment to pause and to think about our relationship to this podcast and how we were seeing it evolve. On my end, because I was seeing everything that was coming in the next few months, I really paused and realized that, I kind of came to the limit of the investment and the energy I wanted to put in this project. And it has nothing to do, and I really want to make this clear, nothing to do with our friendship.
oh my
Uh,
God, no.
if anything, this project really brought us closer and we really learned about each other, and we're
Yeah.
like really, really close now.
We're sisters.
Yeah, really. But but yeah,
Can't prove it by blood, but we sisters.
from the same queens. Okay. But yeah, I was so scared to tell Elsa my reflections on that. And we had a call where we talked for like an hour about it. And funny thing is we both kind of felt similar. Um, so all this to say, we're kind of announcing that the podcast as you know it is gonna end. I'm gonna retire myself. Can you say that? Remove myself from the podcast. I'm taking my
Retired?
retirement.
Down. What's the makeup you're using?
I'm retiring. But yeah, no, it will change. It won't be both of us anymore. Elsa might still use the podcast or this
Right.
platform
Right.
eventually. There's no like date per se that we can guarantee or anything.
No
Um,
rush.
yeah, no rush. But the podcast as you know it is not going to be the same anymore. Although it was a great experience and we both learned a lot, it also made us realize how crazy having a podcast is and how intense it is. Although it was a beautiful experience on my end.
It is a lot of work. And as she said, like at the very, very beginning of this episode, it's not just, publishing or releasing a conversation that we've just recorded. It's so much work behind it. And it takes a few hours in a week, like to be honest. And we didn't expect it to be so much. And I feel that we were just so excited about it that we didn't see it come through that way. But then when we started taking the pause, that's where it all came to like, it became clear to us that it was a lot of work and energy, and honestly we rather prioritize the energy in other products that we have coming forwards right now. Although the podcast is something that I want to keep. I want to keep this platform active. I don't know where I'm going to bring it, but I do have a lot of like discussions I want to have, people I want to have on this podcast. So I'm not sure yet of where it's going to go. I might even receive sometime MP as a guest.
I'll be back.
That'd be nice. So we'll see, but guys, there is no rush for me right now into figuring this out. We're going to complete season 2 and we're going to put all our energy and love into it because we love what we're doing. It's just that, for at least the summer and fall, it's going to take a turn. So we want to warn you guys about it.
Yeah. That was it. This is it. The cat is out of the bag. I feel like I'm sweating. I think I overthought about this moment. It's not that big of a deal.
I overthought about this shirt. This shirt's
but like nobody cares. It's just like when you're in it, like, I care so much. So I'm like sweating. Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good. Okay. So if you guys want something to take out of this podcast, here's something I want to suggest. When you need to take time off because there's so much going on, either it's a positive or like there's no negative change. I think that everything happens for a reason, as cliche as it sounds. Everything's going to get you to a better person. But here are a few questions that you can ask yourself. And I was about to do the exercise on my own. So I took this from a
Pinterest exercise. What did you say? The exercise on my own?
Oh, I said I want to do this as well. I don't know how this came out. I'm sorry. All right. So here are 7 questions you need to answer to understand yourself. So if you guys want to take pen and paper or just, pause and then write this down some other time for the episode. So the first one is about your values. So what are the principles that guide you? The second one is passions. What interests excite and energize you? Third one is ambitions. What goals and experiences do you want to achieve? 4, fit. What environment do you feel the most fulfilled in? 5, patterns. What are the consistent ways you think, feel, and act? 6, reactions. How do you respond to difficult situations? And 7, impact. What is the effect you have on other people? So by answering these different questions, they can help you navigate change and then find yourself better throughout, all that whirlwind, that tornado, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And
that was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Pinterest. So I love this post. And I have 3 other things that I want to share with you if you want to give it a go afterwards. I think reading is essential. And of course, not just reading anything or just like reading a book. If you want to read a thriller, go for it. Like, we're not going to stop you. But what do you need to hear? What tips do you need to have? And this is why I directed myself to Think Like a Monk. I really need to bring, my thoughts to the very basic, to find happiness through me, through the inside and not through the exterior and material and all that. And then writing, letting go. What do you need to expel? What do you need to understand? What do you need to question yourself upon? If you need to complain, go for it. But keep that negativity on paper. And then you're done, shut the book, whatever, the journal, and go do something else. So I've been journaling a lot. And just to give you an idea, the first day I journaled 6 pages.
Wow. You had
Back
a lot
and forth,
to say.
like both sides.
Wow.
And last thing, again, very cliche, just let go. Let go. Stop wanting to have control on everything when you're navigating change. So those would be my tips.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really love that. And these are really good tips, although difficult to put into place if you've never done it. So be gentle with yourself. Just be nice with yourself and kind with yourself, as if you would be with your best friend or your mom or your dad or your boyfriend or girlfriend. And I would say I don't have a tip per se, but I wish everyone listening to this podcast to learn how to ground your awareness. I think but everything you said is about grounding yourself. It's about coming back to the middle, about removing whatever's not necessary and just going back to what's essential, what's normal, what feels good. So I guess keywords of this episode is grounding, changing, and being kind to yourself and letting go.
Being accepting.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm loving this. And I want you guys to repeat that. Okay. Whether you're in your car, at home, on the treadmill. Okay. Say it out loud or not, but say it. I am physically, emotionally, and mentally ready to enter a new phase in my life.
Get it, girl.
Repeat that. Seriously.
I love that.
Thank you so much for listening. We're so excited to have you guys on another episode with guests of the XtraMile Podcast.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.